JY, the NBA playoff bracket has reached the conference finals. Again, it's Boston and Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's Minnesota and Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. Of the NBA's Final Four, how many of these actual teams did you expect to reach this stage?
Boston. Pretty much Boston. That's just about it. I mean, it's been a wild postseason, Ben, and one that's been marred by injuries, erratic play by teams. But listen, Boston was consistent. They were the team that was the best team in the NBA throughout the regular season. I thought that the Minnesota-Denver series was going to be a slugfest, and it was. I got it wrong. And, I was concerned about OKC, but I thought there was going to be the Clippers that were going to be at this spot. So shocking turn of events, but that's the great thing about the NBA is you get hot at the right time, you got a couple of stars, you got great coaches, and you give yourself a chance to win.
Yeah, I agree with that, too. And you take a look at the way the NBA landscape is, nobody really cares a couple of years ago when you say, well, who did you actually play in the finals where Milwaukee won a championship basically because teams got injured along the way? You take a look at the Boston Celtics, nobody's going to remember, hey, Boston's going to win a championship. They finally won it. Yeah, but it was an easy run through the East. You still got to play a really good team in the West in the finals and handle your business. So if we take a look at that Western Conference Finals, which is going to be absolutely tremendous, you take a look at Minnesota and Dallas, these lines have been fluctuating back and forth, even coach in the last 24 hours. We saw the Timberwolves as high as a minus 180, dipped to as low as around a minus 150. Now we're back to a minus 168 with home court advantage for the Timberwolves. Set us up for this series, number one, coach, on how these two teams got here and what we can anticipate out of this series.
Well, I think the series is going to be absolutely tremendous. If you look at, Dallas, how they've got here, it was really the acquisitions during the midseason of getting P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford to kind of shore up the defensive problems that happened. Jones has taken the next step. Hardaway Jr., after a rough start with injury, has started to come on. But also the player, Derek Lively, has been really, really good. I think him coming off the bench has taken pressure off of this kid. And him and Gafford has become a formidable 1-2 punch. So getting up by a Clippers team that seems to just can't get out of their own way when times get tough. And then going into Oklahoma City team, which really arrived a year early. Very impressed by what I've seen out of Dallas. Minnesota was the team that just took a huge leap. I mean, let's be honest. Getting rid of D'Angelo Russell was the best thing that ever happened to this franchise because they bring in Mike Conley a couple of years ago. He stabilizes the roster. He gets them to play defense. And the ascension of Anthony Edwards really becoming, I feel, a two-way force. And I'm going to be honest, he's kind of a likable guy. His comments, he's kind of funny. He talks a little trash, but he's got the game to back it up. But I think also Fitz getting Rudy Gobert and Cat how to play together has been really, really critical. So this is going to be a dynamite matchup. It's not the matchup that we thought we were going to get, but it's the one we got, guys, and buckle up. I think this is going to be an outstanding series. Right now, I'll say it. I think this is going 7, and it could go either way. So to me, I like the series to go 7 games. Best way to play it, to me, will just take Dallas plus the 1.5 games and play it that way. And hope that it goes 7 games because you got star power on both sides. You have good defense on both sides. You have underrated coaches on both sides. You have bench play on both sides. Guys, this is going to be such an intriguing matchup. And I would say this, we're arguably the 3 best one-on-one guards in the NBA in regards to creating their own shot between Kyrie, Luka, and Edwards. Guys, it's going to be fantastic.
From the odds perspective, JY, a great way of looking at this series. If we think it's going the distance, if we think we see all 7 games in this best of 7, then Dallas plus 1.5. Plus 1.5 games, so either the Mavericks win the series or it goes to 7 and Minnesota victorious in that 7th game. That would be a cash ticket, and we've seen some changing juice on that number as the series outright prices inch closer and closer as the public and the betting markets expecting this to be a grueling and incredibly competitive series. So as we look at these two teams, you highlighted what Minnesota does well. You noted what Dallas has changed to get to this point in the postseason. When you compare the two, though, JY, what do you think is the key matchup to watch throughout this series that could dictate the outcome?
Well, honestly, guys, it's going to be something that I don't think people are going to expect. It's going to be the top offensive player against who guards who. So when you look at Dallas, who in regards to and Luka Doncic. Who guards Luka? Because you got to figure between McDaniels and Conley, who takes Kyrie, who takes Luka. That's going to be a critical thing. And then you go to the flip side, Jaden McDaniels, who has maybe been the MVP, you could argue, and that's what Anthony Edwards has said for Minnesota because of his ascension offensively, he's going to have to guard, obviously, as well. So it's going to be a really dynamic matchup here. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see. Also, Derrick Jones Jr., who does he end up on? Probably Anthony Edwards here. So I think you have really intriguing matchups to me. I think we start looking at it. If you start looking at series props, guys, I think Anthony Edwards to lead in scoring at plus 125 is where I'm looking. I know Luka is absolutely dynamic, but you could also get games where Kyrie's got to carry the load. He was much better in Game 6, particularly in the second half, being aggressive, looking for his shot. I think I look at Anthony Edwards at plus 25 to 125 to lead the series in scoring because I think he's going to really have to try and put this team on his back offensively to try and win this series.
Western Conference MVP odds that you can bet on here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. We take a look at that graphic. Anthony Edwards at a minus 150 price. Luka Doncic plus 165. Towns at 14-1 and Irving at 16-1. If we look at some of those, because we talked about this yesterday, is it better off, Coach, to get maybe slightly better pricing if you just take the superstar player to win, or are you just more comfortable to say, you know what, I don't want to get burned by anybody else winning this. I would just rather pick the team that actually wins the series here. What are your thoughts on these MVP odds?
Well, I think the issue you have here is if you look at it's minus 168 right now on FanDuel for Minnesota to win. I think they win the series in 7, but then Ant is minus 150. But here's the thing. What happens if you look at like game number 6 where Ant struggles in a closer game and Karl-Anthony Towns goes off and has a big series? I wouldn't look at that. I would just take Minnesota minus 168 if you want to just take them to win the series. And then if you want to put a small amount of money on Cat to win most outstanding for MVP of the Western Conference Finals as a value play, that's the way I would play it, because then if you go minus 150, you may lose out if Cat has a big series. It's better off to go the other way.
There are 15 cents of difference from the price of Minnesota winning this series, or a little bit less than 20 cents, I should say, for Minnesota winning the series, to the number for Anthony Edwards. Minus 168 for the T-Wolves, minus 150 for Ant to win the Western Conference Finals MVP. There are 23 cents of difference for that same story on the other side for the Mavericks as the underdog, or Luka Doncic with the second best price to win the Western Conference Finals MVP. Game 1 tomorrow night in the Twin Cities. Minnesota at this moment a 4-point home favorite. Total for the opening game of the WCF stands at 207.